There's so much information available on the internet that sometimes it can be hard for people to interpret everything that they get. I'm a firm believer in spending all the time that's necessary in order for patients and their families to fully understand what's going on to make a good decision.
Good afternoon. Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Monday, January 29th with news from Arkansas and elsewhere. The immigration proposal that Donald Trump is behind was formally unveiled today. It follows the outline of what was said last week, and it's drawing fire from both sides. The hard right thinks it's too easy, amnesty for too many immigrants in the United States. On the left, people think children are being held hostage to enforce a new punitive immigration law. I think on balance, this is probably good for Donald Trump. It seems more likely that you can win Democratic support than you can win hardline Republican support on this, and perhaps he's moving toward something that he can claim victory on. We shall see. Andrew McCabe, the deputy director of the FBI, resigned today. He's been under intense fire from Trump and his allies for supposed bias in the course of investigations of the Trump administration because of his wife's somewhat tenuous ties to Hillary Clinton years ago. It's been unfair. McCabe's a career FBI guy with an unblemished record, but he's leaving 6 weeks early. I don't think that's going to do anything about Robert Mueller. He's still at work looking at Russia. The Environmental Protection Agency announced today in a very curious news release that was coordinated with all the top Republican officials in Arkansas that said the EPA is rolling back part of a new regional HAZE rule that was part of the Obama administration enforcement procedures. It was going to put stiffer rules on emissions from coal-fired power plants in Arkansas to reduce haze and make it easier to see things like the Buffalo River and the Ouachita National Forest. Well, the Republicans are hurrahing the news that the EPA intends to go easier on air pollution than they did before. Some people might not like that. The Sierra Club, for one, thinks this is a bad idea. Today in the Senate, they may vote on a 20-week abortion ban. That is, no abortions after 20 weeks of a pregnancy. It's not expected to pass because it probably can't get the 60 votes needed to overcome a filibuster. It's meant to create problems for Democratic senators from red-leaning states where abortion is considered to be a hot-button issue. In Arkansas, of course, its senators will be on board on this. There's some inconvenient facts about a 20-week abortion ban. It's not, as the proponents of it describe, something for convenience and thoughtless women. It's almost never done. And last year, only 26 post-19-week abortions were performed in Arkansas. They were performed for severe medical reasons on account of fetal health or the mother's health, sometimes in dire emergency situations, often where the child in utero was not going to survive the pregnancy term. It's terrible to impose this on people. An Air Force captain whose wife was a surgical nurse and forced to terminate a pregnancy because of a difficult situation some years ago tried to persuade the Arkansas legislature not to pass such a bill, but it did anyway, and it's in effect. More news in the political world on the MeToo front. Clint Reed, a former executive director of the Arkansas Republican Party who was chief of staff to U.S. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, was fired Saturday in a late midnight Saturday news release by Rubio for some manner of improper conduct pertaining to a subordinate, something that seemed to be requesting something in return for being treated favorably in an employment situation. The details are lacking. Clint Reed has not been available for comment. The Arkansas Democrat-Gazette over the weekend did a story talking about the new state law that requires all high school students to graduate to pass at a 60-point level the 100-question test that's available to ask people who come to the United States and seek to become naturalized citizens. Well, it so happens I got a news release today from a PR firm that said they did an online survey of U.S. citizens to see how well they could do on that test, and Arkansas finished second to last in its civics knowledge among all the states. Not exactly a scientific sample, probably reflective of our state, probably reflective of our legislature. I'd like to see them take this test and see if they could pass it. I have my doubts. News over the weekend on the Arkansas blog was that there's an application on file to do something about a long dormant landmark in Little Rock, the old 11-story VA hospital on Roosevelt Road. There's a developer that would like to turn it into offices, a rooftop restaurant, apartments, an assisted living facility, all manner of things. Very expensive. It'll be before the Planning Commission later this month. Also in city politics, Brian Frazier, who's an artist, musician, runs a music studio on Cross Street, says he'll run for Ward 1 city director. That's a big, predominantly black ward over downtown and the southern part and eastern part of the city, long represented by Erma Hendrix, who will turn 88 in June. She tells me this morning that her people say she just needs to run again, and by golly, maybe she will. She's an outspoken sort, kind of an interesting character. We'll see how that goes. And finally this, the Arkansas Times has begun Cannabiz, both a print edition and a much broader online version at cannabiz.arktimes.com, which is everything you need to know about medical marijuana in Arkansas as that law takes effect, how you can get it, what you have to do to qualify, the business, the license holders, everything else. It's going to be an important addition to a brand new law in Arkansas, so take a look, Cannabiz. I'm Resisting, I'm Max Brantley, and I'll be back tomorrow.